Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are taking uh, a seriously unexpected and I think strangely insightful turn.
Oh, this one is interesting.
We're exploring a text that outlines high-stakes logistics,
Yeah.
critical infrastructure failure, and a full emergency response plan.
All contained within a source titled Operation Toybox, the Midnight Mission for Room Safety.
Exactly. And if you're expecting, a typical business white paper, you are in for a real treat.
I think so.
Our mission today is to analyze this short narrative not just as a piece of imaginative storytelling, but as a surprisingly rigorous case study.
In risk management, team collaboration,
And operational efficiency.
Yeah.
We're extracting the series knowledge from this inherently silly setting, tailoring it for you, the learner, who needs that knowledge quickly, but also, deeply understood.
Right. And you have to look past the fluff to see the organizational structure here.
You really do.
The source immediately sets the parameters. We're in room 19B after the lights go out.
And that's the key trigger.
That's the trigger. This is when the toys, realizing their vulnerability, assemble for their critical nightly mission.
To protect the toy box.
And that box isn't just storage. It's their core infrastructure, their headquarters, their main defense mechanism. It's everything.
And the team they put together for this, the composition of this elite squad is really the first sign that this all relies on unconventional leadership.
For sure.
We're introduced to Captain Cuddles, the teddy bear, who's the designated leader.
Right.
Then you have Sprocket, a one-wheeled robot,
Yeah.
clearly the tech specialist.
The tech guy.
Princess Peep, who is described as a sheep with ninja training.
The agility expert, basically.
And then there's Cheddar, a slightly melted plastic cheese wedge, whose designation is listed only as snacks.
Which is just, it's a roster that immediately makes you ask questions about their criteria, right? Why a teddy bear?
Yeah, why him?
Is Captain Cuddles a leader based on, physical capability? Or is it purely on perceived managerial presence and gravitas?
It suggests that, in their context, leadership isn't about who's strongest.
No, it's about inherent trust and command authority.
That's a pretty powerful realization right out of the gate, that the most comforting or familiar entity becomes the default commander.
Totally.
But then you have Cheddar, the logistics and morale support, who is also slightly melted. That imperfection is key, I think.
It absolutely is. It suggests that even assets with, physical flaws or unconventional skills are immediately brought into the core plan.
No one is left behind.
It speaks volumes about the value they place on existing resources, no matter how niche or damaged. This is not a team of perfect, uniform assets.
No.
They're a collection of highly specialized, odd and flawed individuals, and the efficiency comes from leveraging those specific flaws or attributes.
Okay, so let's unpack the crisis that immediately tests this whole structure.
Yeah.
The operation hadn't even really started when disaster struck.
The toy box lid was gone.
Just gone. Immediate exposure. That's like a catastrophic, sudden infrastructure failure.
And the stakes are articulated with, chilling clarity by Captain Cuddles. This isn't just an inconvenience.
No, it's the risk of total organizational loss.
The ultimate high-stakes hazard in room 19B is a Lego brick. If a human steps on a Lego, the source says the consequence is that all toys get locked away in the closet.
Right, and that's total operational decommissioning. That's not a temporary setback, that's organizational exile.
Oh, for sure. Anyone who's ever stepped on a Lego in the middle of the night knows that level of human retribution is swift and absolute.
You're not wrong.
So the hazard isn't the Lego itself. The hazard is the human reaction to the Lego.
The mission is Lego prevention.
Exactly. And the missing lid has created this catastrophic vulnerability, immediately escalating the threat level from, ambient risk to imminent crisis.
And the primary immediate threat materialized almost instantly, the vacuum.
It arrived under the ominous heading, Code Crumbs Incoming, that huge shadow on the ground.
That's pure danger.
And this is a crucial distinction in threat modeling. We have to look at the vacuums methodology. They call it suction protocol.
Sounds bad.
Well, this entity isn't interested in slow infiltration. The vacuum represents rapid, total annihilation, deactivation, and destruction.
So there's no negotiation?
None. There is only immediate, decisive action required before the entire room is turned into lint.
So the threat model here is speed. It's an overwhelming, non-negotiable force.
Precisely. If the threat was, say, a rogue dust bunny army, they could have fortified.
Right, build a wall.
But because the threat is rapid, pervasive, and overwhelming, their reaction time window is essentially zero.
Which brings us to where the narrative gets really interesting.
Yeah.
A traditional bureaucratic team might have wasted precious seconds huddling up, right, trying to follow some standard procedure.
But the Toy Box crew immediately executed a decentralized action plan. They didn't huddle, they split up.
Which seems so risky.
It is. This is textbook high-trust, decentralized crisis management. Splitting up carries risks, communication failures, reduced strength, but they immediately recognized that specialized assets working in parallel could achieve more than a single, slow-moving unit.
So the risk of being engulfed was just higher than the risk of miscommunication.
Much higher. But wait, isn't that incredibly risky? Doesn't splitting up resources in a low-visibility situation increase the chance of failure?
It does, but look at how they mitigated that risk through resource allocation.
Based on specialized roles.
The leader, Captain Cuddles, focused on the main objective, the lid.
While the rest of the team was tasked with defense and situational awareness.
Let's break that down. Let's start with Princess Peep, the ninja sheep.
She used her core attribute cartwheels for distraction.
She didn't fight the vacuum.
No, she drew it away with decoy dust bunnies. That's strategic misdirection. She used the enemy's own targets against them, rerouting the threat without engaging in a fight she couldn't win.
Resource optimization at its best. Okay, now to Cheddar, the snack specialist.
He was supposed to be logistics and morale.
But the crisis demanded he become a frontline defense asset. He applied his unique physical attribute, that greasy cheese sheen,
to create a slippery slide, effectively redirecting the vacuum's path.
So the logistics asset instantly converted to an environmental modification asset.
It's a low-cost, high-impact solution using inherent properties rather than building some heavy-duty shield they didn't have time for.
But hold on, doesn't a slippery cheese wedge introduce new risks? A slip hazard for their own team?
That's a valid operational critique, for sure. But in a time-critical situation, the immediate priority is threat mitigation. You accept a secondary manageable risk, a slippery floor, to eliminate the existential one.
Total annihilation by the vacuum.
It was a calculated risk that paid off. It shows they understood prioritized urgency.
So if I'm tracking, the solution wasn't to eliminate the threat, but to reroute it.
Using misdirection and environmental modification.
And that reliance on immediate defense brings up the issue of visibility. That's where Sprocket came in.
Exactly. Sprocket, the tech specialist, wasn't fighting the vacuum either.
What did he do?
Sprocket hacked the nightlight. Better illumination. Situational awareness for the whole field.
Of course. You can't run complex, decentralized movements in the dark.
So technical expertise was deployed not for weaponry, but for enhancing the entire team's operational capability.
This confirms it. While the specialized team members handled defense and visibility, Captain Cuddles, the leader, focused purely on the core objective.
Locating the missing resource.
Climbing the observation point, Mount Bookshelf. That's textbook command and control during a crisis. He delegated the immediate threat mitigation.
While focusing his energy on solving the core systemic failure. That separation of duties is vital. The leader must not get bogged down in the fray.
Their highest value is providing oversight and strategy.
And he succeeded. The primary objective, the missing resource, was located.
The toy box lid had been displaced. He was being used by the baby doll as a pizza tray.
I love that detail. From a resource management perspective, the problem wasn't destruction of the asset.
No, it hadn't been shredded or sucked up.
The problem was displacement and misuse. The recovery mission, therefore, became an exercise in retrieval and repositioning, not reconstruction.
A much simpler, though still time-sensitive challenge.
Right.
Because the asset was just misplaced, the team could initiate Operation Lid Recovery.
This required immediate improvisation.
They couldn't rely on standard issue gear they didn't have, forcing them to use non-standard equipment.
And this really speaks volumes about their agility. The source highlights some incredible scavenging. Dental floss was used as zip lines.
A simple paperclip became a grappling hook.
This is the definition of achieving a minimum viable solution using whatever materials are available, rather than waiting for the perfect tool.
And we have to acknowledge the involvement of one very brave sock puppet.
Ah, yes. They clearly needed every available resource, even ones that were non-core or high risk.
The success of the whole operation hinged on integrating these scavenged materials and secondary personnel effectively.
That sock puppet, a non-standard asset, represents accepting high deployment risk when you absolutely have to. When the stakes are that high, you use everything.
And the execution of the recovery was just breathtakingly efficient.
They retrieved the lid and sealed the toy box slam, moments before the vacuum arrived.
That razor-thin margin of error underscores the success of the whole decentralized strategy.
And we see the immediate confirmation of success, the reinforcement of morale with the high-fived and high-fluffed moment.
But crucially, they performed an immediate, kind of curious post-mortem note.
They did. Socks are terrible at guard duty.
That is a critical piece of operational learning. They used the sock puppet when they needed it, but they immediately logged its limitations for future missions.
A resource capability gap identified within seconds of mission completion. It raises the question, why are the socks still around if they're so bad at guard duty? Because they recognized that the sock puppet, despite its poor performance there, still had a specific temporary utility. A distraction, maybe. A single-use asset. They know their limitations and they log them.
So what does this all mean for the learner? We have to shift focus now from, the ninja sheep and the melted cheese wedge to the practical, applicable knowledge.
Okay, so the practical takeaways. They connect directly to real-world application, whether you're managing a big project or just optimizing your workflow.
What's the first one?
First, safety and risk prevention. Keeping the room clean or your operational environment tidy is the primary defense against catastrophic risk.
Prevention reduces the likelihood of that total organizational loss scenario, like stepping on a Lego.
Exactly.
Okay.
Asset protection and efficiency. By securing the lid, their headquarters, they shield their core assets from damage. But more importantly, it improves recovery time.
Finding things faster.
Right. If the lid had been stored properly, the entire crisis would have been averted. The simplest safety measures have the largest systemic impact.
And third,
collaboration and adaptability. Working as a team, even with extremely different, sometimes quirky skill sets, is essential.
we saw that with Cheddar.
Absolutely. He was instantly agile, flexing outside his traditional job description to meet the immediate high-priority need. A structure that allows for that kind of flexibility is just more resilient.
That idea of flexibility leads us right into the life lesson component here. It's the simple concept that every job, even putting away toys, matters.
It does. If we view daily, mundane tasks as essential risk mitigation, the motivation changes entirely.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, it's about the power of using focus, fun, and constrained innovation to solve big problems.
The solutions were creative. They used unconventional materials, which is often the reality in real-world crises where you just don't have the ideal tools.
You have to invent the solution using dental floss and paper clips.
You do.
This whole Operation Toybox is just a perfect illustration of blending imagination with these essential principles of safety, resource management, and collaboration.
They identified the threat, they allocated roles based on bizarre but effective skills, and they executed the plan right down to the wire.
So I encourage you to reflect on the nature of your own teams and tasks. Think about the unconventional, sometimes quirky strengths of the people you work with.
Because when a code crumbs incoming scenario hits your professional world, the standard response might not work.
Agility, adaptation, and trusting the melted cheese wedge to provide defense.
That might just be the key to survival.
Exactly. So for your final provocative thought, we're adapting Captain Cuddles' operational mindset and applying it to your working life.
Okay.
What would your professional team look like if you assigned members roles based on their most unique, sometimes slightly melted skills, the ones they usually hide in their standard job description?
And what highly specific, perhaps slightly absurd code names would you give them for their next nightly mission?
Think about that unconventional assignment structure and how you can leverage those unique attributes for your next operational success.
We hope this deep dive into the nighttime operations of Room 19B gives you some surprising new frameworks for managing risk and leading your next mission. We'll see you next time.